Hello, I'm Isaac Keith Martinez, and welcome to Isaac's Haunted Beard, Season 3! Hey, welcome to Season 3 of my show. It's been a long time. Nice to be back hanging out with you here at YouTube land. Hey, remember Laserdisc? Maybe you don't remember Laserdisc. Back before there was Blu-rays, there was DVDs. Hey, there's still DVDs. But before there was DVDs, there was Laserdisc. And Laserdisc was the preferred method of collecting for cinephiles. What you got was pretty much what we take for granted today. But back when everyone watched their movies on VHS, things like seeing their movies widescreen or with special extra features like audio commentary or the trailer, that was all not common. That wasn't stuff that you got with the VHS tape. That was stuff that you got with the Laserdisc. And Laserdisc looked exactly like Blu-rays and DVDs, which are, disc like CDs, but they were the shapes of, the sizes of records, 12 inches. And I collected films on Laserdisc, and when DVDs came along, I sold most of my Laserdisc collection and started collecting on DVDs. However, I did keep some of those Laserdisc, and I'd like to show you some of the ones that I kept. Now, being a horror movie nerd, I wish I could brag and say, I bought nothing but horror films. That's not true. In fact, I like all kinds of movies. But I did have some horror movies, and I couldn't part with them, even if it was just simply for nostalgic reasons. So I'd like to show you some of those movies and give you some background about how I feel about some of those movies. This is a good excuse to talk about some movies that I love. Now, when I show you these movies, you're going to notice that, hey, that's not a horror film. Well, some of them aren't. Some of them are just kind of horror-ish. So let's just go on with it. This first one, actually, you may remember from a video from last season, and that is Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street. I showed this Laserdisc in a video last season, and I'm showing it again because this is a Laserdisc episode. I love this cover, and one of the reasons why I couldn't part with the Laserdisc is because I love the covers. I love, like records, like vinyl, I love big artwork. So even if I'm not really watching them, although I still have my player, because let's face it, if I'm going to watch A Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm going to watch it on Blu-ray. I still like the artwork, and you can display these. You can put these on shelves and display them like little posters. Of course, I love this one because it's got Freddy's sweater, and it's got his silhouette, and it's got the old school logo. And this one actually opens like a gatefold. So there's some pictures in here, some pictures from behind the scene. And I know I did this last time, but here's what the back looks like. It's fire, because as we all know, Freddy Krueger is all burnt. This is what they looked like. They're shiny. So that's what they look like. I don't know if you've ever read my blog. If you haven't, go check out isaacshauntedbeard.blogspot.com. My blog is called Isaac's Haunted Beard. I told a story about the first time that I saw A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'm going to touch upon that right now. The first time I saw A Nightmare on Elm Street, I was a kid. I was watching it with my older brother, and we were in elementary school. I would say I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, and I couldn't get through it the first time. The scene where Tina goes outside at night to see what's that sound, and it turns out it's Freddy, that whole sequence terrified me. Everything from when she tries to, consider whether or not she can run past him, he starts stretching his arms out, and I still think that's a really terrifying image to this day. To the part where she's like, oh my God, and he's like, this is God. When that scene was done, I remember looking at my brother and going, and we decided not to finish it. And it wasn't until the next attempt that I tried to watch this movie at a sleepover that I actually got through A Nightmare on Elm Street. But this is my closing statement on A Nightmare on Elm Street. that scene to this day is my favorite scene of any of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I love that whole sequence. The Tina kill, from starting from her going outside to getting killed in her bedroom, where she's like being dragged up the wall to the ceiling, and she's getting swung around, and she knocks into her boyfriend, and just the cuts start. Oh, I love that scene so much. Anyway, Nightmare on Elm Street, still a classic. Okay, this one's not a horror film, but you can see why it would appeal to a horror film fan like me and maybe you. Have you guys ever heard of a film called Ed and His Dead Mother? This is a film from the 90s starring Steve Buscemi. And look, we got Ned Beatty there. I don't know who this is. This is John Glover. This is Ed's dead mother. Look at, I don't know if you can tell in the picture, but she's about to eat a dog. A dog. Okay, it's been a really long time since I've seen this movie, so I don't really remember it. I just remember that, very loosely, that Ed's mother dies and she comes back to life. And when she comes back to life, her appetite changes, you know? I guess hence the eating of the dog in the picture. But I don't think it's just limited to dogs. I think she's becomes cannibalistic and stuff. You have to feed her things that you wouldn't typically feed a person in order to keep her alive. And then comedy ensues. It's a black comedy. It's a dark weirdo comedy. And I bought it on Laserdisc. I bought this used, actually. I can tell that I bought this used because there's an X written on the sleeve. This is the kind of thing I would never do. I would never buy a brand new anything and go, I think I'll put an X on it. I don't understand that. I don't understand people who put their names on their CDs or their records or their DVDs. I don't get that at all. This is my property of... You know what, if you're a thief and you're going to buy and you're going to steal something, I don't think property of John Smith is going to stop you. You're just going to, you know... But I don't care. I got it. I probably got it for a good steal. And obviously it didn't mean a lot to me. Because this is the kind of thing that would prevent me from buying something used if it was a really, really big deal movie to me. But I don't think I'd even seen it before. I just I'll just buy it because it has that weird... Even if it's junk, even just having a movie called Ed and His Dead Mother is kind of funny. I like having certain titles just because they look funny in your collection. So Ed and His Dead Mother. I've never even ever since then encountered seeing this on DVD on any shelf in any store ever. But I'd probably buy it again if I did. So Ed and His Dead Mother. I kept the Laserdisc. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Swear to God, I love this movie. This is From Dusk Till Dawn. When this movie first came out, I bought the VHS tape, and I went through this phase where I watched this movie every day for just weeks. George Clooney as Seth Gecko, to me, is one of the coolest characters in cinema history. Cool, like Steve McQueen cool. You know, that's Hall of Fame cool. He is so cool in this movie. Everybody be cool. You be cool. I love this movie. I've encountered so many people that I just cannot wrap my mind around in my lifetime who have actually seen this movie that had no idea what it was about, that started watching it and going, oh, this is like those Quentin Tarantino, crime movies with gangsters, and then get totally surprised halfway through when it turns into a vampire film. You deserve that. If you don't even know what you're getting into, and then those people have the nerve to go, oh, it was good until that part, and then it got how dare you? How double dare you? No, it's great for the first half, and it's just as great for the second half. Okay? For the record, I love From Dusk Till Dawn. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the direct-to-video sequels, especially Part 3. And I love the series. And I didn't expect to. I'm so precious of it. I expected to hate it, but I thought it was really cool. So it's a different take on it. And this is another one of those movies that opened. So when you open it, it's got this picture, all right? And then it's got this picture on the back. So this was a special edition. This meant a lot to me, and I bought this again on DVD and on Blu-ray. Alright, vampire killers, let's kill some vampires. Okay. This is called, not Romeo and Juliet, this is called Tromeo and Juliet, because this is put out by the good people at Troma. Troma is an independent film company that has been making horror films and cult films for a long time now, I think over 30 years. They're mostly known for giving the world a Toxic Avenger, and their films are known for pushing the boundaries of taste and violence, and they're really funny, and they're really cool, and I've encountered also a lot of people who use Troma as an example of a benchmark for bad. Where if they see a bad movie, I go, oh, how bad was it? They go, well, it's not as bad as Troma. Okay, stop, because you're talking to the wrong guy. I love Troma, and to me, Troma is the benchmark for good. I mean, if I wanted to make a movie, I could only dream of making a movie as good as the movies that Lloyd Kaufman has made, because his movies are funny, his movies are inventive, they have great heroes, great villains, great violence. They just deliver everything that I want to see in an exploitation film. And back when Baz Luhrmann did his Romeo and Juliet's, William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio, which I actually really like that movie, Troma did Romeo and Juliet. And this was the Laserdisc. And you know what's really awesome about this? Is it came with this inside. This is the Troma Times. It was a newsletter that came with this Laserdisc. But I also want to point out something really funny about this Laserdisc. It's the only Laserdisc I own that had a mistake printed on it. On the side, on the spine, it says The Toxic Avenger. I know you can't read that, but it says that. I wish I had The Toxic Avenger on Laserdisc. I have it on DVD. But, and I have Romeo and Juliet on DVD. But this actually says The Toxic Avenger on the side. So actually, that doesn't bother me. I think it's really funny. I think it's like typical Troma to make a mistake like that. So, Romeo and Juliet. I got the Laserdisc. Woo! I got Ric Flair on your ass for a second. Okay. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. Look at its glorious cover. This is a door. You can tell it's a door because there's a doorknob. And this is Leatherface sawing his way through the door. Here's the blade of his chainsaw coming through. Look at that awesome font. I love this movie. Look in the back, you got the Breakfast Club pose, the whole family. This is one of my favorite sequels of all time, second to only, say, Evil Dead 2. I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think Bill Moseley steals the show as Chop Top, and I think this movie is so funny. And this is a film that Tobe Hooper made as part of a deal he did with Canon to sign him to do a 3-picture deal. They said, we'll give you a 3-picture deal on the promise that you at least deliver us a sequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He agreed, and the other 2 films he made was Life Force and Invaders from Mars. And those are also really cool, especially Life Force, which is really bizarre. But I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I've seen the movie so many times. And Primus samples it. Dog will hunt! That's from this movie. Okay, this is not a horror film. This is a cult film. This is David Lynch's Eraserhead. And yet some people I've heard call this a horror film because they think it's scary. This is a very surreal art film. It's very bizarre, and if you try to describe it like a lot of David Lynch's films, you can only describe it for so long before you run out of how to describe it because it gets really weird. So this is actually a Japanese Laserdisc. This is an import from Japan, so this is all Japanese writing. Because I don't know if they ever put this out on Laserdisc, but at the time they didn't in America, so I ordered this one from Japan. But I also have this on DVD and I have the Criterion Blu-ray, And this is also one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite black and white movies. I love this movie. Okay, speaking of Japan, this is another import. This is the import of Evil Dead. And this is the original Evil Dead. And this is Sam Raimi's classic, his first film, and Bruce Campbell's first film. And this was another film. At the time that I got this, later they did put it out in America on Laserdisc, but at the time they didn't, so I had to order it from Japan. But I love this cover. I love the Japanese writing, and I love this cover. Of course, we all know that this woman who's standing behind Bruce Campbell is not actually in the movie. She's a model that was hired just for this poster because she, I guess, looked pretty or something. I don't know. She's screaming. Bruce looks awesome as always with the blood coming down his face. He's got the crimson mask. Oh, God. I haven't seen this in a while. Look at the back of this cover. This is terrifying. This is terrifying. I love this. Look at this. Tell me how dope that is. With the red and the Japanese writing. Evil Dead. I love you, Evil Dead. I love you forever. My favorite sequel of all time is Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn. And this is Elite Entertainment's Laserdisc with the famous skull with the eyeballs. It's kind of funny, right, that a skull would have eyeballs, because skulls don't have eyeballs. Look at the back. Ooh, you got Ash there looking cool with his axe. Man. It has a letter, Dear Knuckleheads, that's written by Bruce Campbell. I'm not going to read that to you. Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. I can't get rid of this, even though I have this on. I have probably 5 copies of this on DVD because I got all these like special versions, like the tin can version, and then the one that comes in the Necronomicon book. And just every time they put it out, I buy it again because I love it that much. I don't usually double dip that much, but with Evil Dead, it's worth it. And of course, running out the trilogy is Army of Darkness, which at one point was going to be called Medieval Dead. But this is the 3rd film in the Evil Dead trilogy. Look how ripped Bruce Campbell there looks. He looks like a Fabio in a cover of a romance novel. And this is the Laserdisc of Army of Darkness. Finally, the last one that I saved, because I actually sold a lot of my Laserdiscs when I got rid of my collection. I still have a bunch more than just these, but these were the cult ones and the horror ones that I want to show you. One of my favorite cult films of all time, although it's not a horror film, it has the word horror in the title, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. This is a box set. This is literally a box set, because this comes in a box, where you have to take the cover off the box. And look, it comes with this great book. It's huge. It's got these big pictures of Dr. Frank. And wow, look at Riff Raff on the set of the movie. I tell you. Oh, and not only that, it came with the soundtrack. Look, here's one of the Laserdisc. And it came with this book. This book, Creatures of the Night 2. More of the Rocky Horror Show experience. You know that you are a bona fide cult fan if you have ever been in a theater full of other weirdos and have done the time warp because you wanted to. It's just a step to the right. Okay. It's been a long time, hasn't it? Have you missed me? I missed you. I'm happy to be back. Thanks for checking out Season 3. We got so much great stuff to talk about this season, and I look forward to hanging out with you. In the meantime, follow me on Twitter at IsaacsHauntedBee. Check out my blog, isaacshauntedbeer.blogspot.com, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.